Okay, I've never played HyperRogue before, and I know nothing about it. It sounds like it has something to do with Rogue, and I like roguelikes. And the box art makes it look like it has some kind of like fractal thing going on. But let's go ahead and check it out. I'm using a controller. I haven't tested the audio balance, so if it's too quiet or too loud, I guess let me know. Can I Alt-Enter this? Yes. Oh, this game does not seem to like full screen? Let me see if it fixes itself here in a second. Now it seems to be okay. So, classic orb strategy mode, guided tour, is that the tutorial basically? It's like, this tour is aimed to show what's special about the geometry used by HyperRogue. It also shows the basics of gameplay and how it's affected by geometry. Decide when you want to stop playing with the current slide and go to the next one by pressing enter. Press escape to see a menu of other options. Okay, is this game intended to be played with a mouse and keyboard? It is supporting a controller, but I'll switch since it looks like the commands are describing it that way. Icy lands, collect ice diamonds. After you collect many of them, monsters start to pose a challenge. It's typical in roguelikes. If you lose, you have to start a new one from the start. In the tutorial, you can simply press forward to teleport away from a bad situation. Slides, okay. Mouse makes more sense. Okay, I kind of like the sort of like fractal format. Icy land becomes more dangerous with each one you collect. Cannot move through an ice wall. Ice wolf would kill you there. Oh, I see. So there's some shenanigans then as far as like ending on a tile that lets you attack something before it can hit you. This is pretty trippy. Guided tour is different than most of the game tutorials. You're not forced to do anything, you go wherever you want. The Alchemist Lab is not what we were talking about now. Explain this line at the moment. You get lost there. Press enter. Hyperbolic soccer ball. New players think that the action of HyperRogue takes place on a sphere. This is not true. The sphere can be tiled with hexagons and pentagons. Pentagons cause the world to close. The world of HyperRogue is tiled with hexagons and heptagons. Heptagons give extra space. You would be killed. I see. Oh. Rug model. The next slide will show the rendering on the surface HyperRogue takes place on. Use arrow keys to rotate the model. Page up, down to zoom. Whoa, what the fuck? That does not help. Interesting. That's definitely not a sphere. Got it. Let's see what they're trying to say. Expansion. The next slide shows the number of cells in distance 1, 2, 3 from you. It grows exponentially. There are more than 10 to the 100th cells in radius 1000 around you. You will move further away during the game. This is important in the design of HyperRogue. Navigational puzzle would be simple in Euclidean world, is extremely tricky in hyperbolic geometry. When you reach a specific location 20 cells away, which of the thousands of possible directions should you take? Things virtually impossible in Euclidean world become easy in HyperRogue. Huh. No permanent upgrades. Collecting treasures brings you benefits. Trying to get too many of the same kind is extremely dangerous. What a helpful screen. Basics of gameplay. Okay. Okay. Icy land. Question mark. Alchemist Lab. This is the most wild game tutorial I think I've ever seen. Tactics of fighting simple monsters, such as the Yetis from the icy lands, might appear shallow, but hyperbolic geometry is essentially even there. In the next slide, you're attacked by two monsters at once. You can make them line up simply by running away in a straight line. Press 2 to try the same. Hyperbolic geometry was discovered in the 19th century. Take a line L and a point A. Can a world exist where there is more than one line passing through A which does not cross L? Icy land will be dangerous if you have lots of ice diamonds, lots of yetis and ice wolves hunting you. Other lands where you have no treasures will be relatively safe. Wander further and you should find the crossroads. The Great Walls are straight lines and work differently than Euclidean. Some of the tutorial text gives me strong, like, in order to understand this, first we have to talk about multiple realities. To learn more about straight lines, wander further, and you should find the land of eternal motion. Try to run in a straight line with a running dog next to you. Even though the running dog runs at the same speed as you, it'll appear to go slower because you're running in a straight line, and the running dog has to run in a curve called an equidistance. Icy land. And a link to a wiki, okay. Equidistance are curves which are at some fixed distance from a straight line. Some lands in HyperRogue are based on equidistance. Don't recommend going deep into the dungeon or the ocean. Hey Rebecca, how you doing? Circles are strange in hyperbolic geometry. Look for the Castle of Camelot and the Crossroads. The round table inside is a circle of radius 28. Press 5 to cheat by seeing the smaller circles too. I don't actually know where that is. This is the crossroads we were talking about, right? Jungle. Probably don't want to go there. Forest cycles are similar to circles, but you can't reach their center at all. They're limit circles of infinite radius. Go to Aurelia, and you should quickly find the Temple of Cthulhu. Huh. So is there supposed to be, like, a map, or is it just saying, hey, explore until you find this kind of a thing? Yeah, it's a pretty big map to try to track down. Half-plane model. The game is displayed in the so-called Poincare disk, which is a map of the infinite hyperbolic world. So this is a roguelike for math nerds. I dig it. Specifically geometry nerds. Many projections of Earth, since Earth is curved, all of them have to distort distances or angles in some way. Same is true in hyperbolic geometry. Go to the burial grounds and find an orb with a sword. The sword appears to always be facing the same direction whatever you do. It appears you have to rotate the sword to excavate the treasures, yet it's possible to excavate them. Ah. Sum of angles in a triangle is not equal to 180 degrees. Okay, I don't know if I'd be able to find that. Hyperbolic geometry yields much more interesting periodic patterns than Euclidean. Procedural generation. Periodic patterns. Zebra and windy plains are based on the pattern shown on the previous slide. Lands often have a tree-like nature, like a fractal, right? Flows change smoothly in the whole infinite world. This works better than in Euclidean geometry. This gives me, like, not only is it, like, first we have to talk about alternate realities, it gives me, like, this guy has a beef with Euclid. Has a beef with Euclidean geometry. It's like the time cube guy, if anyone remembers that from the really early internet. Four-dimensional time is educated stupid. Fractal landscapes application, which you should find quickly. You can find a baby tortoise in the dragon chasms. Try to find a matching adult tortoise in the Galapagos. Fuck. Man, is this ever an indie game, too. Disk model is a model of a hyperbolic plane. This is an interesting game in the sense of, like, seeing someone's stream of consciousness, right? Like, stab them by walking around them. See more models in the hyperbolic plane. Don't have any way to not die, I guess. Talking about how different projections are fundamentally inaccurate. No, the tutorial text is, like, cracking me up. Like, I appreciate that the dev is, like, into this stuff, but I like there's, like, kind of a tone about it, like, it's obvious how rad this is, right? Like, as you can see, this is way radder than that dope Euclid and his dumb geometry. Fuck the Mercator projection, indeed. Something cheese episode of The West Wing. The band model is the hyperbolic analog of the Mercator projection in the sphere. There it is. Straight line is rendered as a straight line, and the rest of the world is mapped formally. Angles are not distorted. Press 8 to see the path. Press 5 to see it rendered as a spiral. Nope, I'm not going to press that. I'm okay. I don't need to see that. I love that this is what the developer wants to communicate in the tutorial as well, right? In the shoot 'em up mode, space and time is continuous. You can attack by throwing knives. Fun with 2 players. Okay. This tutorial shows a small part of what you can see in the world of HyperRogue. For example, hyperbolic mazes are much nicer than the Euclidean counterparts. Just love the idea of this guy, like, having, like, a dartboard in their office. It's just Euclid. Okay. Main menu. Play the game. Wait. Main menu. World overview? Shit. Restart game? Restart game starts a new game, right? Leave tour mode. It's HyperRogue Classic that we want, right? Ice Explorer. It's not like I don't want to go to the jungle right away. I think it's probably a bad idea. I think I die if I get surrounded by enemies in such a way that I can't... See, I feel like that would be a really important thing to state, like, what's the failure condition in the tutorial? I think the failure condition is if I get surrounded by enough enemies such that there's no way for me to move legally without getting attacked. Okay. Book of Winter. Like, leaving blocks behind me? It's kind of cool. I see. I don't want the Orb of Winter. Blocks off my ability to progress. I don't know what I was expecting this game to be, but it wasn't this. I was thinking the word hyper and, like, you know, just like calling it Super Rogue or something, right? This is cool though. I've never seen anything like this. Also, that was a really fun little, like, peek into the creator's brain there. Talking about games that are like singularly unconcerned with like onboarding you into their universe, and like this game is very concerned with onboarding you onto agreeing that this geometry is fucking rad, right? Collect $60 to access even more lands. Defeat 100 enemies to access the graveyard. Try other lands once you have enough. Okay. Try again. Hunting ground. Collect a turquoise. It'd be hard to like think in terms of this when you're like making your game, right? I appreciate that it doesn't allow you to like move in a way that would cause you to die. It's kind of cool. Watch out for the... jungle. So when we say it becomes more dangerous, what we mean is that the number of enemies that are able to chase you increases as you get more treasures in a zone, is that right? Is there a wait command? Land of Eternal Motion, oh god. Can't move through the chasm. Yeah, sure. Okay. Click on your own tile to wait. Okay, thanks. Right click on stuff for contextual help. I'm not allowed to move on the blue slime if I'm reading that right. Rogue. The monsters come from another world, presumably to steal our treasures. Not as fast as an eagle, not as resilient as the guards in the palace, not as huge as the mountain mutant ivy from the clearing. Rogues never make moves which result in their immediate death. Despite this intelligence, rogues appear extremely surprised by the most basic facts about geometry. Hey, Vertesian, how you doing? Just amused by this developer's tone about this game. Oh, that's kind of cool. Oh, okay. If I'm on the blue, I can move on the blue. I see. Can I get out of here then, though? Oh, that I can easily. And I'm dead. Desert. Spice. Can't attack sandworms directly. Yeah, I guess this is the only game I've played that's about that instead of featuring that. Like, it's about the math of a non-Euclidean space as opposed to something like Antichamber, which is just using it for puzzle design, right? And I can see my treasures in the corner. Now, this is interesting because I assume since the world is fractal that you can't beat this game, right? You can just keep exploring it for as long as you can without dying. But also the areas definitely appear to be authored, right? Because... Oh, am I screwed? I don't know if I can get out. So all the enemies like have unique behaviors and stuff. You can beat it. Oh, that's interesting. Nothing like that was mentioned in the tutorial. The tutorial was just about how rad the geometry is. Oh, if it doesn't end the game, it means that I might need to wait in order to be able to progress. Flash Wizard. Okay. Yeah, me too. I think it detects when you don't have any illegal moves and ends. Place is getting kind of dangerous. Okay. Are the pickups doing very much right now? Like, they're not like, I guess they don't have stats. I noticed there are some pickups I can get that do something that like have like a temporary effect of adding ice onto the screen or whatever. End of eternal motion. A scary place to be. Alright, get the hell out of there. Yeah, I got the sense that pickups increase monster spawns, but... Eternal motion. Is it ever possible to kill the creatures in the Land of Eternal Motion without dying yourself, or are you allowed to stand the floor's collapse run? Maybe if I have like a spell or something, it's possible. So you can let them chase you. Oh, do they die in that case? Don't attack sandworms directly. Collect 10 spice. Desert Man. Passed an exit from the desert a second ago. Oh, the Thumper. Ha, very Dune. Okay, I see. It's cute. Okay, now we're in the slime world. I like how there's different mechanics in each of the different worlds. F1 describes your goal in a better way than the tutorial. Trapped in a strange non-Euclidean world, collect the treasure you can before being caught. Orbs of Yendor are the ultimate treasure. Get at least one of them to win the game. Press escape for some hints about it. Collect 10 treasures in a land to complete it. This enables you to find the magical orbs of the land. In some cases, get access to new lands. 25 treasures, this type of orb starts appearing in other lands as well. Okay. Oh my god. Orb of Shielding. So these are all in the space of a playthrough, right? Because as soon as I die, I lose any of this. There's no, like... This is a roguelike, not a roguelite. Pretty gnarly. There's my 10. Wait, so you're saying if I hit O, I can see what all that shit does? Orb of Speed. This orb can be used to move faster for some time. So it's like once you get 10 pickups, it spawns that thing somewhere in the world for you to find? Those look different from the other pickups, I guess. Tasty jelly. Reach the jelly kingdom. Don't attack jellies in their wall form. Oh shit. What do the orbs look like then? I feel like I ran into one once, but it was on accident. Is that an orb? Ice diamond. Pulsing circles. And I always... So I'm not done with the zone. This is an orb. I'm not done with the zone until after I pick up the orb from that zone. Oh, that's kind of cool. Got a little fire. This is a really neat concept for a game. Well, didn't it say that I need to get 10 treasures in order to beat the world? And that's how I'll eventually win. So I shouldn't leave a zone until I have 10 treasures, but I can leave when I get 10. I don't have to wait until I then find an orb. Nice. It sounds like there's a second tier orb if you get more than 10. Maybe 25 was a significant number for it. Is each of the sub-regions technically infinite then? Like, is there an infinite amount of space in the icy land? To get to 25 treasure, that orb can spawn in different lands. I see. Okay, that makes sense. That's what it sounded like it said in the tutorial, but it was kind of hard to understand what they meant by it. Thank you. And any orbs above 25 are pointless? Or not necessarily? Makes sense. I get the strong feeling that the developer made this game because they have a beef with Euclidean geometry. It's the only way for them to process their rage. Okay. I got completely wrecked there. Also, good things happen when you get certain numbers of kills, it sounds like. So It seems like getting 25 orbs is pretty good in terms of you having things that might save your life later on. What's the deal with some of the ice things getting destroyed when I'm standing near them to like fight things? Back myself into a corner. Is that like my body heat or something? Love number file. Kills increase the number of treasure and orb spawns in that land. Okay. But only in that land, so kills in this land don't do me any good in later lands. I'm about to be super duper dead. Shout for the jungle. Collect a ruby. I'll try it next time I'm in the ice area. It's particularly hard to get rubies here. Maybe it wants me to kill lots of ivies. Up the drop rate or whatever. Can items only spawn, treasures only spawn on tiles I haven't visited yet? And they spawn behind me as well. Easy to get overwhelmed in the jungle, it looks like. You're not careful with what you're doing. So this game doesn't have a how long to beat at all. Has anyone here beaten the game? Is it, like, reasonable to beat? Just curious. Really backtrack very much, I guess. What's the difference? Sometimes the treasures have like a little circle in them. Do they do anything different? Orb of Storms. Evoke the lightning spell, which causes lightning bolts to shoot from you in all directions. Triggered on your first attack or illegal move native to the jungle. Oh. It is illegal to, or it is native to the jungle. Got it. Oh, do I need that ability to be able to progress in there? Interesting. So I can limit the growth of vines, I guess? I see. Is that area with all the blocks that I can't natively destroy, like, that seems like that's a pretty late area that I'm supposed to go to. Storm Wizard. Kill a monster with a lightning spell. Neat. Oh, is this on mobile? There's two kinds of treasures. This is a regular treasure up here. Let's see if I can point out. And the one up there is a treasure with a circle on the inside of it. Just different from an orb. Try to get out of here and do a better zone if I can. There's one. Crossroads. Crossroads are they just connect to every other world, basically, no matter where you find them. Make the thumpers, maybe. Gotten 10 spice before. I feel like I'm surprised the game doesn't start in the desert, because I think it's a little bit more simple than the ice level. Make you like stutter step to avoid those. 437 cells away from the starting point. There are a lot of such cells. Collect at least 10 treasures in each of 9 types to access Hell. Defeat 100 enemies to access the graveyard. All the different orbs can spawn in the crossroads. But you need at least 10. Yeah, these ones are different, right? Ice Diamond versus... They're also just called Ice Diamonds. Tracks its prey by their heat. Ah, okay. It's pretty cool. I'm getting killed because I'm bad at the game. Like right there. Like different on a hexagon or a heptagon. Okay. Treaty mode and VR support. Yikes. Do you like see it from the point of view of the character? Looking forward? Yeah. Basically guaranteed to make you sick, I bet. The default ruby spawn rate is quite a bit lower here just because there's so many enemies to kill, right? Increase the rate. So I could try to get the graveyard here. Each vine I kill counts as a dead enemy, right? I like how the feel to your movement to avoid getting killed feels really different in each of the different zones. It's pretty neat. Does it kill any 100 enemies in order to get the graveyard, or does it be 100 of the same enemy? Or total? Okay. Seems really possible if you try to stand in one area that you're going to get just overwhelmed with vines. That works. In the desert already, but I'll try to find an alternate exit, I guess. Whoa! I understood what happened. Oh, is this a new area? The minefield? Okay, I haven't been there before. What I'm doing is indistinguishable from exploring, so... Sure. Seem pretty hard at 10 treasures, too. Can't do anything in there right now. Oh, shielding. Go in there, maybe go in here. Oh, that's cool. It changes the color of the nearby enemies, too. It also destroys the pickups, it looks like. I really like how they make all the different regions have, like, they feel really mechanically different. It's cool. There's 10. Orb of Speed. Does it like freeze all the enemies temporarily? That's cool. Or I get to move twice for every one move they get now. Thought I was near a crossroads. Looks like I lost the thread. Okay, this is new. Living Fjord. Just don't walk in the water, I assume. Coastal area. Each turn, each cell will become water or earth based on the majority of cells around it. Oh, it's like Conway's Game of Life. It's fun. Kill the Viking. Interesting. Dead troll. Leave behind a wall when they die. Okay. Okay, so I can get onto land as long as there's a land tile adjacent to me while I'm in the water. But I might be in trouble depending on how far away that is. Princess is kept locked somewhere. Concentrate on collecting treasure. Look for another zone if we can. I'm really gonna die before I get to one. Orb of the fish, which presumably lets me swim. Be able to see and collect underwater treasures while being invisible to monsters yourself. If you're afraid of jumping into the water straight from a boat, usually you won't do it. Does it only last for a certain number of moves, basically? I see the invisible. Kraken depths. Oh wow. This orb's more like a permanent upgrade, I guess? No, I probably need to maintain the orbs to stay down here, huh? That's cool. Kraken! No large ships, only small boats. Oh, if I get multiple copies of the same orb, is it adding to my duration or resetting it? See, it's getting bigger, so I can't kill it. This is pretty cool. I feel like this game could have like gotten by just on its gimmick if it wanted to. And it's neat that it's actually trying to do different things in each of the different zones. Pressed. Caribbean island. Run out of. I see. So boats I can still use to travel. Based on the facing of the boat when I go to try to ride it. I need to get out of here desperately. This is gonna be bad. Warped coast. Oh god. That's... Never play this game while high. Reach the warped coast. Collect a coral. I can't wait on the warped coast, it looks like. Cannot move between triangular cells. Chop down the tree. Whatever you say, game. Ratlings. Haven't really ever been high. You are entering a minefield. Okay, that's the thing that killed me last time. I thought I was moving into the desert. I didn't realize it was a different kind of zone altogether. Looks like the coral are only in boats now. How to find an exit. This isn't looking great right now. I'm gonna die soon. Maybe I can make it into this. I like how the zone transitions tend to, like, discourage enemies from chasing you into them. That's kind of nice. Wait, really? Did I die because I walked into the ocean without the swimming orb, basically? Well, that was better than previous attempts. I may as well try to go for 25 in the starting zone, just so I have the option of having an orb in every zone. About to be dead, aren't I? Yeah. It's possible to have a legal move where the immediate next move will always kill you, right? Ocean's gonna kill you only slightly less than outer space. It's true. I think it was worth playing this game if only for the completely bizarre tutorial that, like, tries to tell you, like, the least important information for being able to play the game. That was awesome. This is pretty fun, though. I could see playing this on the phone, just trying to see how far you can get. So is it that those ice blocks are melting because I'm standing next to them, basically? And I can see the little red beneath my tile as my heat that I'm giving off or something? It just seems arbitrarily, like, why is it so precise? I assume that was just a flavor thing. I don't know if that's like a... If you put too many cats in a too dense of an area in Dwarf Fortress that it, like, causes a nuclear explosion kind of a thing. Them's just the breaks of HyperRogue. Yeah, that makes sense. That's why it's funny to me that it's, like, so granular, right? Like, with 4 decimal places. Like, what the fuck? Developer's like, that's what it is, dude. Do you want me to lie to you? Do you want me to simplify it? What game do you think you're playing, idiot? And we're about at time. So if I stop, is it gonna save my location or do I have to do everything in a run? I guess I didn't make it terribly far. Future Marstead, good luck. I think you can figure it out. It's not that complicated. Get 10 of the thing, pick up orbs. If you get 25 of the thing, the orbs show up in other zones. Try to get 10 orbs in every possible map. To save the game, you need an orb of safety. Okay. Thanks for sharing, Bert. This is a cool game. Like I said, I've never seen anything like it.